Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive, centuries-old textual anomaly. Have you ever thought about why the most famous book in human history has four overlapping and, let's be honest, sometimes conflicting accounts of the exact same person? It's a total puzzle, and it's fascinated readers for generations.
So, let's dive right into this foundational mystery. If this text is meant to be the ultimate reliable source, why don't we just get a single, neat, perfectly harmonized timeline of Jesus? No contradictions, no confusion. Why the complexity of four totally distinct narratives?
Well, to figure that out, here is our roadmap. First, one story, four witnesses. Second, meet the four evangelists. Third, the discrepancy dilemma. Fourth, how to read them. And finally, number 5, the complete picture.
All right, Section 1. One story, four witnesses. We usually call the first three accounts, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the Synoptic Gospels. That word synoptic actually comes from the Greek syn, which means together, and opsis, meaning seeing, so literally seeing together. These three have so much shared material you can practically lay them side by side. John, on the other hand, well, he provides a fourth perspective that steps way back, interpreting Jesus from a totally different, highly theological angle.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the four evangelists.
First up on the list is Matthew. Now, Matthew is basically your bridge to the Old Testament. He's constantly using this theme of fulfillment to prove to his predominantly Jewish audience that Jesus is the authoritative Messiah, the long-awaited King of Israel. He really anchors the whole story in ancient history and prophecy.
Then we've got Mark. Mark is our earliest, fastest, and starkest account. He is absolutely driven by the word immediately. The story just zooms from one action right to the next, and it's built around this incredible paradox. Jesus is the conquering king, sure, but he is revealed most completely through suffering as a servant.
Next is Luke. Luke is all about the ultimate reversals. In his account, you constantly see the proud brought low and the humble exalted. He's emphasizing that Jesus is a Savior whose grace continuously reaches out to the outsiders, women, the poor, the marginalized, Gentiles. It's a remarkably expansive, global view of salvation.
And then, the atmosphere completely shifts with John. John literally starts before creation itself. He uses those famous I am statements, I am the bread of life, I am the light of the world, to focus heavily on Jesus' divine identity as the eternal Word made flesh. It's deeply mystical and intensely theological. This illustrates brilliantly how they all work together. Matthew is asking, what does Jesus mean for Israel? Mark asks, what does it mean to be a suffering Messiah? Luke is asking, who exactly is salvation for? And John asks, who is Jesus ultimately? See, they aren't competing for the right answer. They are perfectly complementary.
Which brings us to Section 3, the discrepancy dilemma.
We absolutely have to address the elephant in the room here. If they are writing about the exact same person, why do they tell this same story differently? Well, the crucial thing to remember is we just cannot slap our 21st century journalistic expectations onto first century writers. Today, a journalist has to keep a strict timeline and exact word-for-word quotes, right? But ancient writers, they routinely arrange their material thematically rather than chronologically. They'd group similar events together or condense speeches to convey a much deeper truth. They weren't just printing out a raw data log.
Look at this. It's fascinating how a seeming contradiction actually reveals their core motives. Take the genealogies. Matthew traces Jesus back to David and then Abraham. Why? Because his theology is deeply Israel-centered. But Luke traces Jesus back to David, Abraham, and then keeps going all the way back to Adam. Why did that? Because Luke's broader genealogy is proving his specific point. Salvation reaches all of humanity, not just Israel. The difference is the theology.
All right, Section 4, how to read them. Keeping those ancient literary styles in mind, how should we actually approach these texts when we hit a genuine difference in the timeline? Here is the fantastic 5-step method. 1. Read each account independently. Let each one speak with its own voice. 2. Identify exactly what's different. Is it the wording, the sequence, the emphasis? 3. Look for natural explanations, like thematic grouping. 4. Guys, it is perfectly okay to acknowledge unresolved tension. And 5, this is the big one. Ask why the evangelist told it this way. When you do this, you stop treating the text like some cold database of facts, and you start reading it as vibrant literature. That's when it truly comes alive. I love this quote because it frames things so beautifully. God does not have to destroy the individuality of a witness in order to speak through that witness. A difference in perspective isn't a contradiction, and it's certainly not a flaw in divine inspiration. God actually chose to work through Matthew's Jewish vocabulary, Mark's intense urgency, Luke's precise organization, and John's soaring theology. The humanity of the writers is an essential part of the revelation itself.
Finally, Section 5, the complete picture. It is time to step back and look at the final synthesis of these 4 overlapping accounts. Think of the Gospels like a magnificent cathedral with 4 distinct stained glass windows, all looking out at the exact same sunrise. One window highlights the red, one brings out the gold, another focuses on the blue. They aren't competing to tell us which sunrise is the real one, right? They are allowing us to see the full, breathtaking spectrum of the light from completely different angles.
When we bring these together, king, servant, savior, and son, they act as mutual correctives. John prevents us from reducing Jesus to just a moral teacher. Mark keeps him from becoming some abstract philosophical concept. Matthew ties him firmly to actual historical prophecy. And Luke ensures we know his salvation is universal. Together, they make it impossible to put Jesus into a tiny, comfortable little box.
Ultimately, the redundancy establishes the story, but the differences deepen the story. We don't just have a single, flat, one-dimensional timeline here. We have 4 independent, legally distinct witnesses. That gives us enough certainty to trust the historical narrative, for sure, but enough depth and mystery to keep seeking the person at its center.
So after looking at Jesus from every single direction, through all 4 of these beautifully distinct windows, the ultimate question this explainer leaves you with is this. After hearing all the witnesses, who do you say that he is?